So in this video, we are going to talk about immutable objects, and let's try to understand what immutable objects are. So immutable objects are like if we created the object with some value. Once the object is created, you cannot modify the values or state of it. And we already have an example in our JDK class string. So let's try simple example. I have a string hello, right? And when I say to uppercase, so this string hello should convert to the uppercase. Now, if I just run this program and say print str, the string doesn't change, right? So string is immutable in Java. So why do we need to make the classes immutable? So the first thing is immutable classes are thread safe, right? And also there are other use cases. For example, uh, when we use hash map or hash map related data structures, so the key should be immutable, right? And also we can cache the immutable objects as they are not going to change anywhere. So let's uh, try to understand how we can create our own immutable object. Now let me create one class which is point, and I will have two variable created here. So the first rule is we should not have a setters to our class. So the client of your class or a user of your class cannot change the values. So while creating the point, we will set the values, and once the object is created, no one can change its values. So what we will do, we will generate the getters here, and not the setters. So once we have point, once we have point created, we can get the value, but we cannot set the value. The next rule is to make your variable as a private, because a client can still access them directly and can change the values. So we should make your variable private so they cannot access and change them. The next rule is to make your class as a final, but before that, let's try to understand why we need to do that. So I will create a class with name extended point, and we will extend this class with the point. And I will have a constructor here. I will create one more variable with name real x. I will set real x here, and I will have a getter here, and it will return, let's say, x plus 20, not x, it should be real x, right? And a user, let's say, created the extended point, and we are expecting that we should get 10 and 20 value, but we get 30 here, right? So this way somebody can break your immutable class, and that is the reason the class should have declared as a final, so nobody can extend that and break your class. And the last rule is to make your fields as a final, so we will just set them inside the constructor, and if we try to set somewhere else, then compiler will give us a warning, and it it will not allow us to do that. This works fine, and this is our immutable class, but there are more complicated things we need to understand. So this works if your class have all the variable as a primitive type, but what if you have the objects or reference type? Let's try to understand that. Now, to understand how references works in immutable classes, I will create a new class to understand this issue. So I created the class person, and we will have a private field called nicknames, and we will try to apply the rules which we had learned right now. So I will have one getter, and I will have a constructor here, right? So this is our immutable class, and let's try to use this. So I will create one list here, names, will add some names, let's say A, names, add B, And I just forget one of the rule. We should create the list as fine. Now everything seems good. I will create the person object, say person, new person, master list. Let's print the list. And we have A and B. If we see, this seems to us very correct um, immutable object, but it is not. And let's try to understand how. If I say names dot add and again add a name, the expectations are like the nicknames should not change, right? But if I run this program, we will see A, B, C, because the reason is we created the object here and we are passing the reference here, and user of this class here are able to change it, right? And that is the reason those changes reflected in your object here. So how we can fix that issue? So always when we have the reference types, we should create a clone or a copy of it. We should not just refer to that. So what we will do here is we will create a new list. That's the simple thing we can do, and we will say nicknames. Now let's try. Now we have our own list here, right? And a user cannot change that. So for reference type, the rule is when you are creating the object for the reference types, actually, you should have the copy of them and not the just references. The other thing is here we are returning the again the same list. Let's see what is the problem. So if I have list here, and now I added the C, and I will print the list again. Let me, okay, so the first print A and B, but later again a user added a new name to our list, and it reflected again with our nickname list. So when we are returning the reference types, right, from the immutable objects, we need to apply same rule as we did while taking the references. We will never return the references. Instead, we will return the copy, or simply what we can do, we will just say array list here of nicknames, and that solves the problem. So if we see, the list is not changed. Or other way is we can return the copy, right? Okay, so I get the exception, and this is because when you return use this list or copy of, right, it returns the mutable list and you cannot change that. So if I run this works fine. So we can say this is the trap when we use the references in our immutable class. So I think this is clear for you now. Now let's understand what if I have a immutable object, but I also want to change the values. So there is a pattern called Withus pattern, and let's try to understand that. So again, I will create one class, person, or let's create our class point. We will have the private int x, private int y. Those are final. The class is final. We have constructor to set of values, and we have getters. So this is our immutable class, and let me use this here. Point. Now let's say a user want the point with the x value as 30. What user will do? It will create a new point object, right? There is no other way to update the value. So what he will do, he will create again a new object with, let's say, 0.1, but the values of y is same. So what we can do, we will have one method which will return the same point object, and the convention is with x, and we will say x, and now we will be returning point x and this dot y. And again we will have same method. Let me just copy it with y. We will say this dot x and here y. So this is the convention we use in the with our pattern. And what a user can do now, let's say he want to create a new object with the point and with the value x as a 30. If we will say point with x 30, let me delete this. Let me again print now the values for 0.1. We'll say get x and get y, and we have 30 and 20 values. So these are the two different object, and I think this is we can connect this with the string example which we had. We have a string hello, right, and we say str dot to uppercase, and now we have a new object str1 with the uppercase hello. So this is it in this video. If you think you learn something from this video, so just like to the video. Thanks.